Summer, and I'm back with the second part of What's in the Bag, the Witchy Moon Bag edition. In the first part, I shared my little moon bag of moon decks that I use for new moon and full moon readings and perhaps the different phases in between. And so today I'll be diving into the second bag that resides in the big bag. So, she's removing her mask to reveal she is in fact a skeleton. Ah! Telling ya, I love this Winona cookie. Her collage art is just the best. Okay, so I have two pouches inside this bag. Just keep going deeper, deeper in, further down that rabbit hole of bags and pouches. I really went nuts with Redbubble for a time there, and I'm pleased to say it has slowed down now. I think I have pretty well what I need for my storage purposes at the moment, but wow, there was just a big boom of purchases there. But okay, this is, some of you may recognize that's what the wallpaper looks like at Disney's Haunted Mansion. My favorite ride ever, anywhere. So this is my little, I guess it's just my Gothic decks. So to start with, I think this is the oldest one in the pouch, the earliest one that I would have bought. Tarot of Haunted House. Not the Haunted House for some reason, just of Haunted House. But this is great. The creator, not the artist. The artist is Mirko Pierfederici, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But Sasha Graham, the creator of the Darkwood Tarot. She came out with this one before that, and I had read somewhere that for the artwork, I think it's a graphic novelist that illustrated, and what she wanted was something evoking the old school cover images of just like old horror novels, like that she knew from the 70s, maybe going to the 80s. And it just makes it very fun, you know, it kind of adds a campy quality to it. But this deck is very fun. It follows a protagonist named Raven, and the guidebook, it is just one of these little white books. It's Lo Scarabeo, so most of this is it translated into other languages. But even for what little bit is in here, I think it's nicely done because it actually follows this like narrative following this character. And I don't have these in order, but you see where she first, I know that this is the image for the Fool card. It's kind of where it all begins as she chances on this house. And so it just takes you through this whole world of her time in this mansion. Look at that Hierophant card from her point of view. I love it. I love it. Just the shadow. There she is in the sun. She's still wearing her gown. She seems to keep that gown on through the whole thing. But yeah, she's kind of like roaming around in the mansion and around the grounds, and ooh, you see this nod to The Shining. So it's a great horror deck. And then you get these different paranormal beings in the different suits, and oh man, you know, I really only pull this out usually closer to Halloween, so I'm challenging my memory here. I think, okay, the swords are demons. I believe the cups are angels. The wands, I want to say, are vampires, and the pentacles are witches. I think I've remembered that right. Like there's one of the demons. Ooh. Again, I love these shots that are in her point of view. That's the Two of Wands. What do we got? Vampire Slayer. This is kind of creepy when it's like she herself is assuming this devil role. I'm assuming those are the lovers that she encountered before. There's like this whole cult ritual thing going on there too. So it is just, I mean, in addition to images like that that like directly bring you into Raven's point of view, the richness of these illustrations and just the creation of this specific setting and just concentrating it there and building this whole story around it, it really creates this whole world that you step right into using this. Like I can just feel the heat and hear the crackle of the fire. Ooh, there you go. There's some more fire for you. But it feels very interactive. It's very fun. Like I said, it's a great deck for around Halloween. But I think it's a fun one to bring out other times too. And I don't know if you can hear, but I'm dropping cards all over the place. Trying to ignore it until it happened again. But I have also used this. I have a 2-part series on it, Creative Woo Writing, under my Rumors Rambles playlist, where I talk about how I've used this deck to help me with writing. I used Ethany's story spread to get an idea of character and conflict and resolution of that conflict. It's just, tarot is such a great way to brainstorm that. And those of you out there who also write, I know you know what I'm talking about, because if you're in the writing tarot overlap, I don't doubt you've also used the cards to help you with that process. It's not something I always did, but once I got into the tarot, it really saw me through some writer's block, and I grabbed this deck right away. Well, first of all, when I first did it, I didn't own that many decks, but even now that I have a larger collection, I would still turn to this one right away just because of that great sense of story. And I know those of you who have the Dark Woods Tarot, you see the same in that whole narrative. It's a great deck that also beautifully illustrated. Abigail Larson, which I will be talking about again momentarily. Love her artwork too. And it was really neat to see, like, between these two decks, you can identify Sasha Graham's style of how she does weave those threads of the tale together through the deck, but then seeing it translated in these different artistic styles. But this one is a keeper for me. I just got some zombies in the graveyard for Judgment. Yeah, and you can see there's some very typical Rider-Waite-Smith imagery that shows up there. Yeah, so anyways, if you do see my Creative Woo Writing, oh my gosh, like these images just really, really help spark ideas to life for me. So fun. I didn't mean to spend that long on that. I think it just goes to show how excited I am that we're approaching Halloween now, and I'm going to get to pull that out soon. So I think my next Gothic tarot acquisition, if I'm going chronologically, keep it in this cute little bag. I got the mini Bohemian Gothic Tarot, and I got the mini because I missed the boat on the full size, and I think for what my experience has been with the mini, you know, my curiosity about it is satisfied. So I think I will be able to live without the full size, even though I know it has come back out. It will come back out. I'm not sure, but even though my old eyes can be challenged with a deck this size, this is great. Like, I'm getting ready to throw this in my purse to be my autumn deck to carry around with me. But I mean, again, just classic horror feelings. And I just love the vintage aesthetic. Victorian Gothic is my vibe, and so it's spectacular, so atmospheric. People are so expressive, and it also just brings you into a world that you can see very vividly, and it kind of brings new life to a reading. I think the more that I can see a story in the cards, the more my intuition is going to fire on more, if not all cylinders, to get really like opened, enlightened reading. So yeah, but you know, it is so teeny, but it's very cute. I edged mine, I think, with a Sharpie before I knew you're not supposed to do that with, what is it, Baba Studios decks. Yeah, because it bleeds. And it did a little bit, but this is a dark deck. And so it really doesn't show up that well. And I don't know. For me, it's just fun. It's just playful. It was a mini. It wasn't as expensive as a full-size version. So now I know if I ever do get a full-size Baba Studios deck, but thus far, I have not. Okay, and my most recent, oh no, skipped one. I don't know why I'm doing these chronologically, like as far as when I acquired them. I don't think I'm going to stick with that going forward, but I've already committed myself to it for this pouch, so let's see it through. This is a direct ripoff of Dawn Michelle. I admit it. She shared this dark grimoire deck, and I'm not even super familiar with Lovecraft stories. I confess, I am aware of certain characters and storylines. It's not like I'm completely oblivious. I get the essence of it, but I have not, you know, read this full repertoire. Just, you know, very little bit, maybe years ago. So it doesn't make things readily identifiable to me in the cards what's being depicted, but my understanding is that this is based on Lovecraft stories. And Dawn Michelle got it and trimmed hers down. So guess who immediately got one after seeing her video and also trimmed hers down, took all the borders off, and ended up edging mine in like a deep brown. Somewhere on here, just with a ballpoint pen, I wrote in like numbers and element signs, but kept it very subtle in case I just want to go off the pictures. And I know that Dawn was using this or intending to use it for a specific purpose. I believe it was writing related. And again, this is one of those decks where, being that they are depicting scenes from stories, it's another one that just really gets a narrative flow going in a reading. And especially without the borders and the titles, when you just lay this out in a spread and just kind of look at it like a storyboard, it just comes to life, and it is so cool. And I haven't used it a lot so far, but when I have, I was really surprised. I know from reading one, it spoke to me pretty meaningfully about something very dear to my heart. And I don't even think that I had specifically been asking about that, but I used it in conjunction with the Dark Mirror Oracle, and they brought something to light that I realized was something I needed to hear and understand at that time. And even if I was kind of inquiring about something adjacent to that, it got my attention where it needed to be. And so I am very grateful to it for that. I didn't expect that kind of an experience with this. I thought it would just be more novelty than that, or really would just be something for like creative writing exercise. I haven't pulled it out yet for that. But yeah, here you can see where I've got some Roman numerals for to actually identify within the tarot structure what the card is for, or what the card represents. But it's really nice to not be penned in with that and just take the imagery elsewhere. Great vintage Gothic atmosphere though, so I think it's also one that'll make its appearance pretty soon as we get further into the Halloween times. I'm filming this early September, so by the time I post it, it's probably going to even more so be feeling like officially autumn, and I'm probably going to already be officially like digging out the spooky decks. But as of now, that's still a little ways ahead. But okay, so the most recent acquisition for this Gothic pouch of mine, speaking of Abigail Larson, the Horror Tarot. Look at, looks good with the red edges. So I just in this last year decluttered the Darkwood Tarot, and more recently, the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot, both of which illustrated by Abigail Larson, whose artwork I adore. So I am praying the 3 times the charm, or third times the charm, because I do love her artwork. And I was just applauding Sasha Graham's ability to weave a narrative through the tarot deck. So, I mean, that was a dream team right there in the Darkwood Tarot. And I completely understand why that is a well-loved deck. And with The Nightmare Before Christmas, I love Tim Burton. I love that movie, but I just was, I don't know. I just not feeling that deck either. I was really excited though to see Abigail Larson rear her macabre head again. Speaking of head, headless. Ooh. I have gone through this deck. I have not read with it yet. I'm saving it for October, but there are definitely some associations here I kind of have more trouble connecting than others as far as the traditional tarot meanings go. But I will say, less pippish, more scenic minors in this deck. Even though I think that with some of the images, it can be a bit of a reach. Not this one, it's very clearly the tower. But yeah, I don't know. But the thing is, like, do I care? This isn't one that I would read with all throughout the year anyway. I specifically got it to be an atmospheric spooky deck for October. And so, you know, for the amount of times and number of readings that I would actually be using it for, I don't mind if I just have to make the leap in my mind itself. I do like this though, the bent, is she called the bent-necked lady? I forgot how people started referring to her from Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series very loosely based on the book. But it's beautiful though. You know, the borders are really big, but I don't know. With the red, I do really feel it. I mean, it does give me the same feeling I had with Darkwood, where I just was like, oh, I just want to magnify that a bit. And Darkwood Tarot, the advantage of that one is that the images do technically, the scenes go to the edge of the card. It's just sort of like a filter that covers it outside of the frame, but it is technically borderless. But I think it's just the images themselves are so, detailed. It's just a matter of wanting to see them larger to make more of that out. But I don't know. For this one, it works with me. I like the border on it. I like even sometimes if I can't see totally clearly, because there's some creepy stuff going on there. He has sewn his lips. Ooh. I don't understand this card for temperance, but I'm determined to make it work. I do like this for the sun, though. Very, very shadowy sun. Clown that should be something like bright and jolly and happy, and ew, clearly a murder clown. Anyways, I think that there was more effort given to fleshing out more of the cards in this versus some of the straight up novelty things we've seen where it feels like they kind of gave up after the major arcana and the courts. The guidebook, I don't even bother keeping it in the bag. It's not great. It doesn't help with identifying if there are any horror references in the deck that you might not be sure of offhand. It doesn't clarify that. And I don't think the descriptions really aid in comprehending like the logic behind why an image was associated with a certain tarot card. So I don't know. I'll take or leave it. And yeah, I think it's going to work out just fine for my seasonal purposes. Oh, and I thought I was done with this bag, but there's still one little bag left. The Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, Patrick Valenza, creator of the Deviant Moon. This is a fun little deck. It is a teeny little deck, but I love it. It just appeals to an old school fortune-telling kind of reading. Very Lenormand-like. A lot of versatility to it. There's a lot you can do. And I like the small size of it because sometimes I'll bring it out and I'll just have oracle card, just a larger card, and I can put 4 of these, like 2 on either side of it, and just kind of have this little nice self-contained reading right there with these elaborating on that oracle's message, which, of course I usually do with tarot also, but I can pull this out in a way that I would use Lenormand to supplement a reading too. And just that hand-drawn, very aged look to it is atmospheric. The backstory of Mildred being in an asylum is problematic, but can rewrite her story in my head. I don't need a backstory for this deck. It can just be what it is. Not Mildred's, it's mine. And you can use the keywords that were provided with it, or just go with whatever these symbols evoke for you. So very intuitive, very free in how you'd use it. No rules. So, looks great. All my darker decks. And I've been mentioning Halloween, but I do still have a separate pouch officially for Halloween, but I will cover my holiday decks in a separate video. But these are definitely for getting into autumn, getting into October. These are the ones that I'm pulling out and working with. Okay, so just in the interest of time, I'm going to cut it off there and come back with yet another installment of what's in the bag for the second pouch that resides in this skeleton bag for the autumnal season when I'm in a mood. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye.